Hi guys, how's it going? I'm so excited. Today we are going to be talking with Laura from B Squared Social on 7 real mistakes that you're making. So I'm going to wait for her to join on right now. I am going to pin the title real quick. And then if you guys want to let me know where you're watching from, if you have any questions about Reels, Laura is a Reels expert. So it's going to be really fun to ask her a bunch of questions. She's going to be sharing 7 mistakes that she sees a lot with Reels. And then of course we'll take your guys' questions at the end. Okay. So let me see if I can figure out how to pin the topic while everybody joins. There we go. Cool. I figured it out. Awesome. Hi guys. Hi from Los Angeles, San Francisco, UK. Amazing. We're just waiting for, I don't see her. Oh, there it is. Okay. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm so excited to chat with you about 7 real mistakes that people are making, that you see people making a lot, especially because you are a Reels expert. I think I actually found you from one of your Reels.
That's so funny. I found you on a reel too. So
oh,
so
really?
Funny. Yeah, I love
That's
that.
amazing. I mean, I feel like that's the way that I really only find anybody that I follow nowadays, which is crazy. It's kind of just showing you the way that Instagram is going. So I guess before we get into those 7 real mistakes, do you want to just do a quick intro of you and your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So hi everyone, my name is Laura. I'm the founder of B Squared Social. We offer courses, coaching, consulting, and a membership, all aimed at helping you simplify social media and specifically Reels, because that seems to be a really hot topic. So that's me, and I'm based in Canada, in Ottawa.
Amazing. Okay, so I guess we already have some questions coming in, but
Cool.
Let's go over the top mistakes that you're seeing people making with Reels, and then at the end we'll do the Q&A if that sounds good.
That's great. I found I was thinking about lots of mistakes, but we have whittled it down to 7. So one of the mistakes I'm seeing right now is people are not using trending sounds, which is like a huge mistake because Instagram has specifically said that they are prioritizing content that is using these trending sounds. People will say, I can't think of a way to make it apply to my business. And I just want to challenge people to think outside the box for that one. It doesn't have to be super literal. Like there is a way to make almost any sound work for your business. So not using trending sounds is one of the big ones I see. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask a question that I feel like I know that people have about this is, and I've actually created a reel on this because I've gotten this question so many times, but how do you recommend going about finding trending sounds? Because I know that's something that people ask. And I completely agree with you too. I've heard a lot of people say like, I don't want to be dancing. That doesn't apply to my business where I'm teaching people. But I really, again, I completely agree with you. Like there is a way to make a trend apply to your business no matter what you do. I mean, the amount of trends that I've been able to apply to like online business. If you just think outside the box and get creative and like aren't afraid to
do something weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done any dancing reels. So I think that's like my thing. I'm like, I don't dance because I want it to be super attainable for everyone. But the best way to find what's trending is, if you're on TikTok, spend a couple minutes scrolling on TikTok. I will scroll on Instagram on the Reels tab and just see what comes up. Another thing I recommend doing, people don't always think about this, is I have a second account on Instagram that's like my burner account or my Finsta, whatever you want to call it. And I will go scroll on that account and try not to engage with anything because the algorithm shows you more of what you engage with. So if you're scrolling on an account where you haven't engaged with anything, you're not being fed a specific narrative or a specific type of content. So that's something that I like to do just to get a different look at what's trending. Because if I look on my Reels tab, all I'm going to see is like people like me, people I follow. So I want to see different things that I'm not already seeing. So I'd recommend checking it out from a different account if you can.
That's a really good point. And I think too, sometimes if you are only looking from your own account, you might get in your own head and be like, oh my God, everybody's already done that, or everybody's already doing what I want to do. But you have to remember that like not everybody is seeing the same stuff that you are seeing. So
that's so true.
Your idea could be completely original to most of your followers.
Absolutely. And another thing I'll do is I'll look on like my husband's account or I'll go on my dog's account and just see like how people in like, 'cause my husband's in healthcare. So like see how people in healthcare are using trends or seeing how people are using the trends for their dogs. So just having a different input or different type of content that you're consuming makes a difference too.
Amazing. Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, what is mistake number 2?
Not posting consistently. So this is one thing I see is, and there's a few reasons why people aren't posting consistently. Perhaps they haven't figured out a good workflow, or they don't have the time, or they lose inspiration. But that's one of the biggest mistakes I see. People will post one reel a week and then, three reels the next week and then nothing for a month. So it is really important that you are maintaining consistency, not just for the algorithm, but also for yourself. And so that you are getting consistent data to see what's working for you. So that's the second mistake I see a lot of.
I love it. Do you have a recommendation? Oh, sorry. I feel like I'm gonna ask the questions that I'm pretty sure everybody's gonna ask, and then we'll get into people's at the end. But do you have a recommendation for like how many reels people should be posting per week?
I mean, it really depends on you and like what your life looks like. For some people, if you have kids or you have a second job, it is hard for me to say to you, you should be posting 4 or 5 a week. But personally, I think 3 to 4 is a good place to aim and kind of go from there. That being said, I've seen people do 7 a week, and that works well for them. So it really depends on you. I would like to say aim for at least 3 a week though. And if that means you have to substitute a reel for a side piece of content, then so be it.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, I think, and also, I mean, do whatever you can that's not overwhelming, but you also just know that like the more consistent you are, and like let's say you're doing 5 a week, the faster you're probably going to grow, and the faster you're able to see like what types of things your audience likes. So that's something like, that's a good tip that I use is people are like, well, what do I post about? It's like, just try a bunch of topics and then look and see what performs the best, because that's what your audience likes. And then do you have a process for like batching your reels?
Yeah, so I have my membership, the Reels Report, and I've been using that exact process to make my own reels. I just use my weekly report. So that's one thing I do is I have my prompts already set up for me the night before. But usually what I do is I have like a template that I use. I will write down the specific sounds I want to use, and then I'll just like, free form and write ideas I have and how I want to incorporate it with those audios, or specific topics that have come up for me throughout the week, or questions I'm getting a lot of. So it is very like, I plan it the night before, and I have like a system the next day. The first thing I'll do in the morning when I get up is like not go on my phone, get ready, and to start recording before I get in my head about it, because I don't want to be scrolling and see what someone else is creating and kind of ruin my inspiration. So that's how I batch my reels every week.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I do a very similar process. Usually like Sunday or the day before I plan to film or batch a bunch, I'll literally watch reels for like at least 30 minutes and just see what people are posting. I'll save a bunch of trending sounds or trending audios and write down ideas of like, oh, I could apply this trend to online courses in this way, or like I could do this funny reel or voiceover reel in some way that applies to my business. So definitely, I mean, I agree with you, like definitely kind of planning it out ahead of time. And it can be super simple, you guys. I literally like write this in my notes app just so I have a plan the next day of when I'm planning to record like at least 5 reels in one day. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm not like losing time trying to scroll for
figure out in between. Yeah, and I feel like that momentum is so important, because if you have to stop while you're recording to think of a new idea or find another sound, it would take forever and you'll lose that momentum. So definitely planning the night before really helps.
Totally. Okay, cool. So what is mistake number 3?
Not having a strategy behind your reels. So this is where, if you're not batching, you wake up one morning and you think, oh shoot, I need to make a reel, and you just record the first thing that comes to your mind. That is something that we see that is really detrimental in the long run, because you end up creating reels that aren't relevant to your niche, and you get all sorts of weird followers and people who may not be helping you further your business goals. So you want to make sure that you do have a strategy behind your reels, and that's why, consistency and batch work are so important to help you develop that strategy and really stick to the strategy as well.
I love that. And I think, most of the people that are probably watching this and they're wanting to make reels, like they don't want, like that's not their business. Their business is like creating courses or seeing clients or something. So it's like, you want to still use reels to grow your audience, but you want to free up the rest of your time in your week to actually do the thing that's like helping you monetize.
Money. Yeah.
Exactly.
So important. Yeah. And then number 4 kind of ties into that one, is creating irrelevant reels. So I have a client and they're an accountant, and they end up doing a reel about their dog, which is great. They got a ton of views, but none of those people translated into accounting clients. And they actually ended up getting like a lot of hate mail, because people were like, why are you doing a dog post? You're an accountant. So I want to make sure that people are creating content that's relevant to them. I know you're really good at this. Like you said, you make the trends apply to you. And I think some people, they can't think of how to make that sound work for their business. So they just do what everyone else is doing. And they take the trend very literally instead of applying it to their business. So you do want to make sure that you are creating reels that are relevant to your business.
Totally. Do you have any, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, like in order, like tips for people to do this is like, number one, like really understanding the person that you are trying to reach, and like getting into their mind and like what's going to appeal to them. But like, do you have any other tips for doing that? Actually, if you have any examples of like types of reels or trends that you've done that have you like creatively applied to your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so to go back to your first question for a second about like how to figure out what people are looking for, I'm a big fan of market research. So if you have a smaller audience, this is harder to do. But if you are on like a Facebook group, you can go into Facebook groups where your ideal audience is and see what their pain points are and like what questions they're asking, where they're getting stuck. Some groups allow you to post. I think I was in like the Gold Digger podcast group, or maybe it was the Jenna Kutcher group. This was a while ago. And I like did a post. I said like, oh, what's your biggest hang up with creating content? And there was like hundreds and hundreds of answers of people saying, I don't have time, I can't think of ideas. And that helped me to get into their mind. So if you don't have a big audience, like if you, for example, you could put a question box up and ask your audience, hey, where are you getting stuck with course creation? And you would get hundreds of answers. But if you have a smaller audience, you don't just have all these people that you can pick the brains of. So that's where I recommend going into those Facebook groups and doing market research and seeing what is coming up for people who are your ideal audience, and then figuring out ways to make that apply to your content. To go back to the second question about how I've made like trending sounds apply to my business, there was the Anchorman post I did a couple days ago. It was like, you know, when he says like, oh, that got out of hand quickly. And like, I don't think anyone would think, oh, that audio is going to apply to creating content. And I ended up tying it in by saying like, you know, Adam Missouri logging onto Instagram after seeing everyone freaking out about his announcement. So it's not, you know, it is, you know, thinking outside the box. Like that was a super weird reel, but it did really well for me and it got a lot of comments and it got a lot of traction. So there are tons of ways to make weird sounds apply to your business. You just have to think about it a little bit differently.
Totally. Yeah. The one that was coming to mind for me that I was thinking about that actually went really viral, I think it got over like 1 million views, is a soundbite from Bridesmaids, the movie Bridesmaids.
I love
she's
Bridesmaids.
like, oh, you do? And I was like talking about, you know, the quote.
I've seen that one that you did. Yeah.
Canva. So, I mean, there's just so many ways like to just be creative, and you can actually really have fun with it. I mean, I think once I got over the hump of like, oh my God, I look like an idiot, and just started having fun with it, they really started to perform well.
I completely agree. Like I've done, like at the beginning, if you go look at my first reels, it was very polished, or, you know, as polished as it can be when you're just holding your phone, but it was just me giving like quick tips. And like the evolution of that, like I'm doing like weird outfits now, like I'm doing weird filters. So I do think there is like a natural process where you do want to start off and you want to like, you know, look cute and like come across really professional. And then, you know, after a while, you're just having fun with it. And like, I have a bunch of reels lined up for this week. And I was like, I had so much fun creating them because I'm not worried about like what I look like or what people think anymore. You kind of figure out who your people are and like who your content is for. And that makes it a lot easier to create that content.
Absolutely. So a couple people have asked if I'm going to be saving this live. Yes, I'm going to be saving it, and I will probably be posting it later today. So if you missed any part of it, and then you can, I'll share it with you too if you want to post it, but otherwise everyone can watch it on there. Okay,
amazing.
Cool. So are we on number 4?
We are on number 5.
5. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So number 5 is creating reels that are too long or too much info. So one of the clients I worked with, she had a reel on like 10 different gym hacks, which is great. Like people want that meaty content, but it ended up being like a 30-second reel. And it was so much information that it was like, wait a sec, like I need to go back to the first point. I don't need 9 more points. I need to know more about that first point. And I think that's one mistake is, you know, we're being told to create educational, valuable content. And we think that means, you know, throw everything at your audience and the kitchen sink and see if something sticks, instead of really breaking it down into like one meaty piece of content at a time. So I think that's one thing I see people oversharing. They want to over deliver. But when it comes across in a 15-second reel, it's just too much information and doesn't translate well. So breaking your reels down into smaller tidbits. I had a series on reels mistakes, and I ended up doing like 4 or 5 different reels, each one highlighting one mistake, and they did really well for me instead of doing one reel saying here are 5 or 6 mistakes.
That's a really good point. Yeah, turn it into a series. I've done that as well. And then another thing that came to mind while you were talking is like, okay, let's say you still want to share those 10, I think you said gym tips or whatever with people. Yeah, you can do like the series, so that split it into 10 reels, but then every time you do one, like tell people to get your free link in your bio that talks about all 10 and download. Because then that way you're also like giving people a next step, and then you can put them into your sales funnel or whatever. So
yeah,
definitely
that's so important. And like, even like you said, that exact same piece of content, 10 gym hacks, like you can make that into a carousel, you could do that into stories. Like you don't have to have your content be one piece of content and that's it. Like you can absolutely repurpose those same themes and topics and make it into different formats. And like you said, like a freebie is a great idea.
Yeah, definitely work smarter, not harder. Sorry, you froze for a second. So I was like waiting for what was going on. Okay, cool. So number 6, real mistake.
Yeah, we're on number 6. Yeah, is having no titles on your cover images. So this is a big mistake I see. People overthink cover images and they think I'm not going to have one, or they've heard it'll mess with the algorithm if they have one. So even if you don't want to create a cover image in Canva to upload later, you can absolutely create a cover image directly in your reel where you have a title. People need to know what your reel is about. This is super important, especially for your older content. If you're directing people to your page and you want them to look at your old reels, having a title that is super straightforward, quick hacks on this. I think having a title is really important. One of those things that we see people not implementing, and then they create this reel and it just dies on their page because no one has a reason to watch it again. So making sure you have like a quick, snappy title to get people's attention. And this is the same with the beginning of the reel. You want a title or a hook to get them in as well.
Totally. That's a really good point. Yeah, I think that having a hook or giving people a reason to keep watching is really important. And even like you said, you guys, even if you don't want to make a pretty cover image in Canva, what I do is I just use the little crop feature now. And so I'll crop like a section of my reel that I think is the most enticing. So if somebody was to be just looking at my page, they'd be like, oh, like what is she talking about here? Even though, I mean, because I honestly, like, I don't want to take the time to like make a cover, but I'll still be able to find like a snapshot of my reel that I can use as the cover. So
yeah, absolutely. And I alternate. I will do like one reel with a cover, one without, just because it like makes your feed look a little more cohesive, because mine was looking crazy for a bit. So yeah, I love doing that. Super simple. Like you said, you just do a snapshot or a little snippet right in the video and you're good to go.
Love it. I have a semi-related question. Just curious what you do. On your feed, like, are you alternating between like reels, static posts, and IGTV or anything? Or are you only doing reels? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, for a while I was only doing reels. The first month they came out, I experimented with only doing reels and that worked really well for me. Just because I didn't have the energy to do static content when I had such a huge ROI on my reels. Now I don't really have a specific flow, but I try to do like 4 or 5 reels a week at least. Sometimes I have more just because I like making them. But I also like to have static posts as well, just kind of break up that content, especially if you're getting a lot of traffic from a reel and people come back to your profile. You want to have like a meaty piece of content there for them to consume as well. So I don't have like a specific number that I'm doing, but I do like to break it up a bit and have a good mix at all times on my profile.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I did the exact same thing when reels first came out. I think for a couple months, I was really only doing reels just because they were performing so well.
It was crazy, yeah.
I mean, I think they still are performing better than other types of content, but there's so many people doing reels now. So it's definitely like increased the bar of like how. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just like with anything. So I think just like paying attention, for anyone who's listening, like paying attention to what has worked well for you. Like if you have static images that are still doing really well, I mean, you could totally mix that up and like do some of those, do some real posts, do some IGTV. So yes.
And especially like going back to your insights, like you made such a good point, seeing what's working for you. Like some of my best performing reels are static posts that I repurposed into a reel. So I had like a couple of carousels that were like, reels you can make without dancing, or tips on how to make a reel without dancing. And I just repurposed that into a reel, from a carousel into a reel. So you can absolutely reuse that content if you see a specific theme is working for you.
Yeah. Definitely. That's a really good point. Yeah. I'm always like, work smarter, not harder. Think about other things you've already created and how you can just turn them into a reel.
Save your time. Yeah. I mean, like you made such a good point earlier. You were saying like, what are the activities that actually monetize your business or bring money in? And I'm like, for most people, I'm sure it's not reels. Like that's not the best use of your time. So absolutely, like just working smarter, not harder with that content is great.
Totally. Okay. Last mistake that people are making with reels.
Yes. So the biggest mistake, this is the biggest mistake on reels, is you're overthinking and you're not posting. So this is one that I struggled with for a bit, is, you get onto the reels tab and you're scrolling and you're seeing what everyone else is doing. And all of a sudden your reel doesn't feel as cool, or the idea you had doesn't seem as cool. So if you are overthinking your reels to the point where you're not posting, or you're second guessing them, or you're just not feeling good about them, I would suggest staying off of the Reels tab and really tapping into your own energy and what you're good at and how you can turn that into a reel instead of overthinking it and not posting anything. That's the biggest mistake I see.
Taking a quick break from this video to tell you guys how I've been making 6 figures a month since the beginning of this year online. And I know that sounds crazy. I simply turned my passion for wellness into an online course that sells passively and helps hundreds of women every single day. In my free masterclass, I'll be sharing how you can turn your passion into a passive online course business and my step-by-step method for getting started with your own online course, even if you're like, WTF, would I even teach? To join the free masterclass, click the first link in the description box right below this video. Don't forget, it's free, and I'll see you there. Okay, back to the video. That is, I mean, I could not agree with you more. And I feel like that's the same thing happens, I think, when it comes to starting a business too. I mean, how often are, you know, people wanting to start a business, but then they get so in their head about what other people are doing and then comparing what they're doing to what somebody else is doing. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, I'm not good enough
to do it. Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. But I completely agree with you. Like, if you need to for a certain amount of time, like, just don't watch reels. I mean, you just have to
take
be
a break.
Creative or like just, and it also gets so much easier once you actually start posting them and you see that like it's not the end of the world.
Traction.
Like no one really is gonna think you're crazy. I mean, you might get a few like weird comments here and there, but for the most part, people are.
It's all good. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, that's the biggest mistake I see is people overthinking it. They want to do it perfectly. They want to have like all the transitions and this and that. They just paralyze themselves with like what's it called? Analysis paralysis. So don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, I don't know if you agree with this too, but I think if you're first starting out with reels, like honestly, don't even worry about doing any of the crazy transitions or anything when you first start, because it's just going to be way too overwhelming. I mean, when I first started, I literally was just doing educational, like things you didn't know on Instagram, things you didn't know you could do on, and you can just like talk and maybe add a song. And then as you get more comfortable, then you can start doing like more transitions and all
completely agree. Yeah, I mean, I only started doing transitions a couple weeks ago. Before that, it was all really, really simple and it was working for me. And I didn't feel the need to, do transitions. And, now because there is more competition, like you said, for me to get to the next level, I have to start doing that. But if you're just starting out, like absolutely the talking head, like educational ones work really well. And the interesting thing about those ones is when I started doing them, my account was at like 2,500, maybe 3,000 followers. And I ended up booking out all of my services with less than 10,000 followers, which is like people think you need 10K to, make a full-time business or to, they have this expectation, but it's not the case. And even really simple reels of just your head talking, like that can get someone into your DMs and into your funnel or wanting to work with you. So I think that's really important to know as well.
Totally. It's something about video, which I love that that's kind of the way that social media is going, especially for business owners, because there's something about getting on video that connects you to your potential client or student so much faster than ever before with just still photos. So it's
and
like
a much deeper way too. Yeah.
So like you said, I mean, you were able to be fully booked out, with 2,500 followers. Which
it was like 3,500, 4,000-ish at that point. Yeah.
That's amazing. And also just to highlight the fact that means you've gone from 3,000 to 4,000 to over 40,000 followers in like less than a year. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is so amazing.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, we are about to get into the Q&A. So if you guys have any questions for Laura, leave them in the chat right now. I was just going to add one bonus mistake for mistake that people might be making with reels. And I was thinking, like, I was trying to think of what I think the most effective type of reel is. And so I guess the mistake would be not making them relatable. So I think relatable reels, if you can get into the mind of your ideal client or student and something that they've felt before and kind of thought to themselves like, oh my God, I thought I was the only one that felt that. If you can kind of speak to that, they're going to be like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. Like, I'm going to share this. I'm going to save this. I'm going to tag people in it. And any of those types of actions can really help propel your reels or your account. So
absolutely. That's such a good point. Yeah. And that's why that market research that we talked about is so important. I did a reel yesterday, the day before, and it was just talking about like, you quit your 9-to-5 job because you think you're gonna have all this flexibility. And then it's like, well, you work 24/7 as an entrepreneur. And I got so many DMs, so many comments. I think it's like 25,000 views in less than 24 hours. It's kind of crazy. So people really love that relatable content. So I love what you said about tapping into where their mindset is.
Yeah, and if you ever have trouble, I mean, I saw that reel of yours and I thought it was so good. And if you ever have trouble of thinking about like, well, I don't know what's in the mind of my ideal client, like for you and for me, like I just literally think about things that I thought personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sure that was a thought
yeah.
that you had was like, oh great, I quit my 9 to 5
Yeah.
because I wanted more free time and now I work all
All
the
the
time.
time. Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. Okay, so I did get a bunch of questions when I posted about this live yesterday, so I'm going to go through some of those, and then maybe as you're answering, I will scroll through people's questions right now. But the first one that I got was a lot of people are wondering like why some of their reels will get like, let's say 10,000 views, and then some of them will get like 100.
Yeah, such a good question. So, this is a point we made earlier, is that there's way, way more competition on Reels right now. So there's any number of reasons why one Reel does better than the other. It could be the sound you used, it could be the time of day you posted, it could be the hashtags you used, it could be even a specific topic. Some people like just care about one topic more than the other. So it could be any number of reasons. Without being able to control for like hashtags or time of day, it is hard to say exactly what it is, but that's kind of the nature of content in general nowadays. Like I have posts that will get 3,000 likes, and then I have posts that'll get 200. So there is a larger range that we're seeing with Reels as well. There's just so much more competition, so it could be any number of reasons, but I would say just keep posting and stay consistent.
Yeah, and I think honestly, like it doesn't even matter, but what you can do is look at the ones that have 10,000 views and try and study what it is about that reel. Like, was it a trending audio? Was it like, were you dancing? Were you sharing something educational? And just, make more like that.
Totally.
Somebody, Fierce Lizzie says, do you think reels with saved audios performed better? So saved audios are like trending sounds. Do you think those perform better than creating your own educational audio?
It depends on like what your goals are. So we know that the Reels algorithm is favoring content that has those saved or trending audios. That being said, if your goal is not necessarily grow your account really big or to get a ton of traffic, then maybe you can use an original audio that's just your voice doing educational content. It really depends on what your goals are. So I don't like to give everyone the same advice because it doesn't work for everyone. But yeah, in a way, using those trending audios is better for your account and that you are getting more traffic from it.
Definitely. And then somebody said, so we kind of talked about earlier in the training or earlier in the call about batching, but somebody's wondering like, is there a way to save multiple reels at a time? So I'm curious like your process for when you do batch, how you save all of those and keep things organized.
Yeah, so there's a couple ways I do it. So I have like my weekly Reels report. That's a membership I have. It is closed right now. But in that one, like I literally I have like a Google Drive sheet and I just make a list of every single reel that I like or of the sound pages that I like, just because I like being able to go from a doc to Instagram without having to like open the app and search for things that way. So that's probably one way to do it. Other ways I've seen done or that I've done that's quite effective is like making folders and saving them that way. Those are probably the two most effective ways I would like suggest to keep it organized because there is a lot. But that's kind of the best way to keep them saved and then know when you're batching, like, okay, all the ones I need are in this one specific spot. You could even save them as a note on your phone. That would probably be another easy way to do it too. But you have to do it like you have to go into the reel and then do copy link. People don't realize that. That's one way to save like the actual link and then you have all the links in one place.
That's a good point. And also just in case anyone, so I'm sure I actually made, I think a couple reels on this about the drafts folder. So there's a drafts folder.
Stresses me out.
Who hasn't done this, but there's a drafts folder in Reels, so you can record a reel and save it as a draft, which is like great, right? But you want to make sure that you are also like downloading that reel or saving it, as backup somewhere else, because if you log out of your account, which I made the mistake of doing, and then try and log back in, they all go away. I wish that didn't happen, but
so frustrating. So frustrating. Yeah, I've done that. So don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Okay, so next question we got a couple of were about hashtags on Reels. So number one, do you recommend using hashtags on Reels? And if so, does it matter if it's in the caption versus the comment? Anything you want to say about hashtags on Reels?
Yeah, so I know we're hearing a lot of like noise around hashtags right now. I still recommend using all 30 all the time. Reason being because that's the number Instagram has kind of given us as the limit. Secondly, because all the numbers we've heard from like what what hashtag numbers or amounts to be using, they all come from Facebook or Instagram reps that you can hop on a call with. And every single person I've spoken to has been told a different number. So I have friends that have been told don't use hashtags at all. I have friends that have been told to use 30. I have friends that have been told to use 3, 5, 7, 15, 21. Like literally every number between 0 and 30 is what I've heard for an answer. So I'm still like recommending using all 30. I use Flick to research my hashtags just to be really quick. And I recommend putting them in either the caption or the comment. I usually put mine in the comment because the captions on Reels are like a little smaller, or they don't show as much. So I try to keep them really short and sweet if I can. So I have been putting my hashtags in the comment section for my Reels.
Love it. Yeah, I know I get that all the time. People are like, wait, I heard now you're supposed to only use this many. I'm like, I mean, until Instagram comes out and says
it themselves. Yeah,
I'm going to continue to probably just keep using 30. So totally good point. And then a lot of people are asking why they don't have access to Reels yet, or why they lost access. So I'm interested to hear what you say about this.
I've heard of that happening. Such a bummer. So I know that Instagram doesn't roll out every feature to every single account. I got the caption feature on my stories like a week ago. I didn't have it for so long. So Instagram doesn't roll out every feature to every single account. We do know that accounts that use more features get more features, usually as like a beta tester, or just because they are using all those features. I have older accounts that I like don't go on as often, that I use for clients or for experiments. And those accounts will not have features because I don't use the features that I already have. So if you don't have them, there's not really anything you can do. You kind of just have to wait for Instagram to roll it out to you, unfortunately. But yeah, I have heard of people randomly losing the feature overnight, and there's no rhyme or reason behind it.
I know. I'm like, oh my gosh. Because I've actually had a couple people tell me that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that would suck. So I guess, just keep using the other features and hope it comes back. I mean, a couple other things you can try, which a few people have said that this works for them, is like switching between account types. So switching between like creator to business or business to creator, see if that changes anything. Or even like, I know some people like regained access to the music feature by just like completely logging out of their account, like deleting the app and then re-downloading it. So I have no idea, or even updating the app. So try any and everything.
Yeah.
But honestly, other than that, like I wish I knew why those things happen, but
I don't have insights for Reels still. Like I know it's like old news now, everyone has it. I still don't have it. So
I actually don't either.
Oh, weird. Okay, let me see that better.
It's interesting. I'm like, and actually this is a complete side note, but a new feature that I'm curious if anybody who's watching has is, I saw that now accounts with less than 10,000 followers are going to get access to
link.
Like the link feature. So let me know if anyone who's watching has that yet.
I'd be so curious.
Is really, really cool for business owners. Okay, let's see. Couple more questions. Okay, this one we kind of covered already, but somebody said Reels make me cringe / uncomfortable. How do I move past it?
I did a post today on like how to get confidence on Reels, or how to gain your confidence with Reels. I think like starting really simple is the best piece of advice. You can't like just jump into it and do like a reel with 1,000 transitions and feel good about it. Like that is a huge jump. So I think like having realistic expectations for yourself, it's the same as like any other piece of content. I'm sure like the first post you posted for your business felt weird too. So I think it's like normal, like embrace it. It feels weird. It's not like, I don't think any of us grew up thinking I'm going to create 15-second videos for like thousands of strangers to see on the internet. Like it is weird. But I think it gets easier with practice. So I would say like start really simple and work your way up to it.
Love it. Completely agree. And then, so dietitian Salawa said, ideal number of points to raise in a single reel. So I'm assuming she means like, the example you gave before about like the 10 gym tips or whatever. Do you feel like there's a rule or guideline for that?
I think it depends. Kind of the rule of thumb is you want to keep it under 15 seconds. We've just seen that the reels that are at 15 seconds or less just do so much better. So as much content as you can put in 15 seconds, that it's not overwhelming. You want to make sure that each tip has, between 3 to 5 seconds on the screen for people to kind of digest it. So, to that point, I would say no more than 3. I would say like, you have a title, you have 3 like quick headings, and then you can elaborate on your caption.
I love that. Yeah. And I think with 15 second too, it's good if you can pack, enough info, but not too much to where it's kind of like, cause I don't know if you've seen this happen before, but I've had some reels where people will tell me like, oh, I watched it multiple times. And I'm like, thank you. Because I feel like if it's kind of on a loop almost, or if you give enough info that it's like,
they want to keep
watch
watching
it again, it
Yeah.
it can kind of definitely boost you in the algorithm.
Yeah,
So
there is like a fine line there, exactly like you said. It's like you want them to keep watching, but not be so overwhelmed by seeing like 100 tips that they scroll away. So yeah, there is a balance there for sure.
yes. And then I'm wondering, I'm sure you get this question all the time, but what do you think about shadow banning? Do you think that that is a thing? And if so, like, what do you recommend doing about it?
Yeah, so I think what happens is people get like a community guideline violation really confused with a shadow ban. So like community guideline violations we know are like too many giveaways. That's one thing that can get your content not shown on the Explore page and not recommended. Nudity, violence, like hate speech, any of that is considered a community guideline violation, and Instagram will not recommend your content. I think like especially with giveaways, is you don't always know that that's something that Instagram doesn't actually want you doing. So that's one big mistake I see. So the issue with that is that even if you do one giveaway, Instagram won't recommend that giveaway in the Explore page, but they also won't recommend content from accounts that do too many giveaways. So that's something to keep in mind. I think the shadow ban is such a mysterious word. We don't really know what it means. So I like to just say like it's a community guideline violation. You can always check if you have any violations reported against your account. But if you think you've been shadow banned, I would take a look at, the community guidelines and see what they are and making sure that you're not, violating anything. Other things that we can see to get your account de-recommended or unrecommended or not shown as a recommendation is if you have like those follow unfollow apps that you're using, or the ones that go and like a bunch of photos on your behalf, or the ones that do a lot of story views. So yeah, the shadow ban probably doesn't mean what you think it means. That's something I like to say to people. And then, keeping in mind that it might be a community guideline violation instead.
Totally. Yeah, I think, and also one thing that this actually happened to me. So I had a reel that went viral, and in the comment I said something like, DM me if you want the link. And so I ended up having like so many DMs. And what I ended up doing is which I learned the hard way, so don't do this, you guys, but if you take too many actions in a short period of time, Instagram will literally block you from using the account. It blocked me for like 24 hours, and I was like freaking out that whole time that I was like gonna lose my account. But I was like, I wrote a response and then was like sending it really quickly to people. And I'm like, okay, don't do that. If you're ever doing too many actions, that like copy and paste was basically signaling probably to Instagram that like I was a bot or something.
Yeah, totally.
So just making sure that, you're doing things like as a real person, you're not automating anything. Don't try and be smarter than Instagram, because they will block you. And then another thing I was going to say about shadow banning too is just, if you feel like you are shadow banned, like your recent content is not getting any views, is barely getting any, likes or comments or whatever, just to kind of use that as like, don't assume that you're shadow banned, use that as feedback to say like, maybe there are things that I could improve upon, or look back at your older pieces of content and what did
see what's working,
and try and recreate more of that. So sometimes, I think sometimes if we just, and same thing happens to me, like I'll have a couple reels that are like really low on views, and I'm like, okay, I need to
what did I do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I totally had that, especially, as more people are creating reels. I saw like a big dip in like the number of views I would get. Like in the beginning, I would easily get 10,000 views in the first like 12 to 18 hours. And now it's like, if I get 10,000 views within like 24 hours, I'm happy. So there's definitely so much more competition, and it has, changed those numbers and what we can expect.
Definitely. Okay, last question, and then I'll have you pimp out your membership or whatever else you want. You guys have to go follow Laura. Okay, last question is, do you have any tips for coming up with relevant hashtags?
Yeah, this is a great question. I recommend Flick. It's FLICK. I think they're on Instagram as Flick hashtags. I use their software. You get a free 7-day trial, and that's the best way to come up with relevant hashtags, and really, really niche and specific hashtags. What you can do is like put in hashtags, and they will recommend other hashtags for you. It is kind of hard when you're first starting out if you don't have that data. But I recommend creating like 3 to 4 sets of 30 unique hashtags. So that means between 90 and 120 hashtags that you've never used or that you're not recycling, and using each set 4 times. And that way you get enough data to see which ones are working for you, or you get enough data from Flick to know which ones are working for you. So that's what I recommend. Flick is great because it suggests hashtags as well that are similar to ones that you already know work for you, or ones that fit your niche based on the keywords. So that's what I recommend.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. This has been
Yeah.
so much fun. And you guys, if you missed the beginning or you only caught a little bit of this, I will be saving it to my feed. So it'll be on there a little bit later. So everybody go follow Laura at B squared. Is that right? B squared dot social. Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
And then do you have like any courses or programs people can like learn more about?
Yeah, so my membership is closed right now, but I do have a freebie in the link in my bio. It's a Reels checklist. So if you are like getting overwhelmed with your Reels and you're like, I don't know what I need to be doing when I'm posting or how to post them, the checklist is there to kind of like help you stay organized and like remember, okay, I need to do this, then I need to do this. So it just keeps you on track. So that's in my bio. It's a freebie there that you can download. And then I have a course on Reels as well that we're in the middle of revamping. So that's all over on my bio. Yeah.
That's so awesome. And yes, you guys, I also just recently revamped my Instapreneur course. So if you're interested in learning more about just Instagram as a whole, growing, monetizing, all about Instagram, you can check that out in my bio as well. Laura, everybody go follow Laura. Thank you so much for being here. This was so fun.
So nice to chat with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.